September monthly call. It is right at 10 o'clock. I do value everyone's time and their busy schedule, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start this morning with some introductions from our OSIS team that's on the call with us this morning. I am Carolyn Bostic, the team lead for data collection and reporting. I'm going to go in the order that I see it appears. We have Kelvin, if you would introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone, or good morning, everyone. I'm Kelvin Pompey, and I'm a data analyst with OSIS.
Albert.
Good morning. My name is Albert Roman. I am an IT consultant, and I work for the data and technology team here at OSIS.
Yolanda.
Good morning. I'm Yolanda Singletary, and I'm a data analyst.
Okay. And just so that we can get it all on record, I'm asking each district representative that is on the call to type in your name and your district. Okay. And as you guys are doing that, Kelvin and Yolanda, if you guys would monitor the chat just to make sure that we get those questions documented and returned. Thank you guys once again for joining this call this morning. I am going to turn my camera off as I present, but nonetheless, we are here and we have some good information for you guys, and we want to make sure that we have enough time to get everything covered. Okay. Are you guys able to see the screen, Yolanda, Kelvin?
Yes.
Carolyn, can you do another screen? We see the notes for.
Or you see the note screen?
The presentation view and not the actual.
Gotcha. What about now?
It's the same.
It's the same? How about that? All right then. Okay. I hate these things. What do you guys see now?
See your presentation.
Carolyn, you should be able to go to your display settings in the presentation view and switch the display.
Okay.
In PowerPoint.
In PowerPoint.
Yes.
Okay.
Go to display settings, swap.
There we go.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. I've never done that before. Thank you guys. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. They will always occur wherever and whenever they can occur. Once again, thank you guys for joining us this morning. And as you continue to type in your name and your district, we're going to go ahead and get started with this presentation. This agenda today, we're going to talk about some reminders and update. We're going to talk about Table 8, Tables 1 and 3, and just a little bit of information about the parentally placed private school reports that's coming in the future and an opportunity for questions. Okay, reminders for indicator 7. Just wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you about that, and we'll have more information about this on our next call. But the exit coast should be completed when students are entering 5K. Students not 5K should be exited at students who are 5 and not kinder are exited at age 6 if you have any students that fall into that particular criteria. We do have grace completion for you guys because the school year has already started. You may have students who are actually who are 5 years old and are in kindergarten right now, we ask that you have those students exited COSEP completed as soon as possible, but no later than by the close of the school year. So we don't want to say, oh, you have to have it all completed by October. No, we do not want to do that to you guys. So we're giving you grace to have those exited COSEP completed by the end of the school year, understanding and realizing that those students who are entering kinder for the next reporting year, you will also have to have those exited COSEP done as well. On the indicator 8, just wanted to take an opportunity to talk about the students that does not have a SUNS ID number. In case you're wondering what happens with those students, we have asked Enrich to use the local student ID number, in which all students should have a local ID number, and that is the number that should appear on that document for parents to complete this the survey. We are no longer doing survey sampling, so this survey should be completed by parents at the completion of each child's annual or initial IEP meeting. We have updated, there was an issue with the Spanish link. We have updated that link and provided you with an updated flyer with the link corrected for your use and for you to share with the families. And just a notation, a reminder to you that this current year survey will close June 30th, and that's so that we can get ready for July 1. We have a quick turnaround, so we have to end the survey on June 30th in order to be ready for the next year's submission, which starts July 1st. We do have the survey available in 5 other languages, I believe it is, and those surveys can be found on our website. Albert, if you would add in the chat the link to our website so districts can refer parents there if they need to complete the survey in a language other than English. For indicator 11, please be sure that you are submitting your reports with a valid overdue reason. To be honest, we met with Director Davis earlier this week to have a conversation about this, and from her stance, I can tell you that from her role or her hat of being a school psychologist, she feels that the only true valid overdue reason, is when a student transfers from one district to the next, and the district gets permission to extend the evaluation. So if it's not a situation similar to this, it is up to the district to have a comment in there so that we are able to make a clear decision as to whether or not the evaluation is overdue and was it at the fault of the districts. For indicator 12, we have a meeting this afternoon with Enrich, and hopefully we're able to get some insight for those 2 districts who are still unable to submit their table 12, their indicator 12 report, and be able to close that out. We really can't do anything until we get those issues resolved with those 2 districts. One of the things that we are tasked with to do as the data team, a report that we have to submit to the feds, it's called a year-to-year change. And with that year-to-year change, and I need to correct this on the slide before I send it, it is an increase or decrease in the count of 10 students and 10%. So you have to meet both criterias. If you meet both criterias, you will be asked to tell us what's going on in your district that led to the change, so that when we submit this information to the feds, we have a clear understanding of what's going on in your district. These are reports that we do have to submit by district. So we're working on a consolidated report so that you're able to give us the answer to those questions so that we can compile it. And these are the year-to-year reports are based off of table 1, 3, 4, and 5. Just wanted to give you a reminder about indicators 4, 9, and 10 on the session that we had last week. Director Davis is still updating the guidance, and as soon as they're done updating that information, we will be able to get those self-assessments and the rubric templates out to you guys. But as of right now, along with the recording, so we're waiting on them to update the guidance so that we can share it with you guys. We're going to talk a little bit about Table 8, CEIS, and significant disproportionality. Once again, this is a report that all districts have to submit. This is due actually October 8th, and you should have received the template in the email that I sent out on Tuesday. And it is, because it is an Excel spreadsheet submission, you will submit this to the Special Education Services at ed.sc.gov email address. Okay, just a couple of reminders about this particular report. The report itself is you are counting or telling us the number of students that receive CEIS services under IDEA in the LEAs during the 2020-21 school year. So the report that you are submitting to us or will submit to us on October 8th is reflective of the students who received services during the previous school year. So I want you to really make sure that you are giving the numbers for the students who received services last school year during the 2021 school year. And it is an unduplicated count. A child should be included in this count whether or not he received, whether the child received CEIS and was later determined to be eligible for special education services. So we're looking at those population of kids that was receiving intervention services and then later on went on to be found as a student with a disability. And there's two things that you're reporting in this report. You're looking at the total number of children who received CEIS under IDEA at any time during the past 2 years and during that school year went on to be a student with a disability. You want to be sure that you are including those students who receive services at any time during the 18-19 school year, the 19-20, and the 2021 school year, and also went on to receive special education services, so that receiving special education services are the students that went on to be found to be a student with a disability. And once again, as you can see, these are unduplicated counts for each of these reporting criteria. Okay, in D2 and D3, enter the count value with only positive integers. We do not need commas or any special characters because those things will cause a fatal error. Only students receiving CEIS under IDEA should be included in this count. What that means is if IDEA funds were not used to provide services to these students, they should not be included in this report. So the catch and the key for this particular report is you have to make sure that IDEA funds are being used to provide services to these kids. Moving on to tables 1 and table 3, and we are our efforts of including or referencing indicators 5 and 6 are intentional because we want you to, as a district, to be able to know where the data from tables 1 and 3, where they're being used. So because indicators table 1 and 3, we're talking about child count and LRE, these two data sets impacts your indicators 5 and 6, which are indicators that are used on your LEA determinations. Okay, I do want to take this time, I should have said it earlier, but please make sure that you are muted anytime we're on these calls. I have not shared the August call just yet because during the recording, someone was having a conversation about a student on the call and that information was captured. So we're working with our IT department to see if we could have that information removed versus redoing the whole presentation again. So please do your best to protect your students' information. And as a reminder, do not include students' names in comments or subject lines of emails. Definitely do not use the student's name in comments because that information is passed on. So we want to do our very best to protect those students' identity. We don't have a whole lot of encryption going on right now, but in the event that you do have to send students information, please make sure that you are encrypting those files and you are not sending unencrypted information about the students via email. Okay, our child count report, it is an enriched submission. Our child count date is October 26th. This is not the date that you submit your report. This report is inclusive of students ages 3 through 21, and the child count date is just a snapshot of the students enrolled and receiving services on that date. Your submission itself is actually due November 5th, which is the first Friday in November. I did want to highlight these LRE codes again. So the screen, what you see on the screen right now are your LRE categories for early childhood, and the state code really, I think there was a question on last month's call asking for clarification about the LRE categories in the description. And I did want to take this time to tell you that that is something that you would need to talk with your special education director about because I'm told that it could vary from district to district. So it is customized. So definitely double check if you have questions about the LRE codes or when to use them, talk with your district's special education directors. As it pertains to the state codes are uniquely defined for South Carolina. And to my knowledge, the only role that those codes play right now is for the interface between PowerSchool and Enrich. So the state codes are used to in the interface to make sure that it aligns with the information that goes over to PowerSchool. And what I did change slides, and these are the valid LRE categories for school-age students, which are students that are 5 years old and in kindergarten through age 21. And if you can see the asterisk, we have some highlighted codes on there. And basically what that means is we revamp the codes just so that we could have better and cleaner data reports. If need be, some of the codes were duplicated across categories, and in some cases we need to be able to report that separately. So having a unique code for each LRE code and age group category, we're now able to do that with these new codes that we've implemented. And I do not know when these codes will be, sorry, excuse me. I do not know when these codes will be updated in PowerSchool, not PowerSchool. I know that PowerSchool level data has this information. I do not know, or can I give a timeline at the moment as to when Enrich will have these codes updated in Enrich. Okay, did want to talk a little bit about developmental delay. And these students you must have resolved before you can certify your child count report. And you should never have, DD is not a valid disability categories for students 10 or older on any of South Carolina's child count report. DD students should be reassessed by age 9. And that is because reevaluations happen every 3 years. So if your students are not reassessed by 9, that means that they're going into their next reevaluation. You're going into that child's next reevaluation with an automatic error on your child count report. Unresolved DD developmental delay errors will be removed from your child count. So if you have students that fall into this particular category, if you want them to be counted, the DD needs to be resolved before you can certify your child count report. And you can never have or should never have a student to be initially identified as DD at the age of 8 or 9. Both will produce a federal error when we submit to OSEP. Indicator 5 is looking at your school age LRE, and wanted to highlight that the 5 kids who are 5 years old and enrolled in kindergarten are now a part of this indicator. And so before you submit your report, you want to do a grade level LRE and age validation check just to be sure that your student's age and LRE code are appropriate for what you're seeing on your child count report. Okay. Indicator 6, which is our early childhood, and basically just highlighting or referencing the split between students who are 5K and students who are 5 years old and still in pre-K. 5 years old and still in pre-K, you should see an early childhood LRE code. And also wanted to highlight that although 6C has always been a part of the child count report, it is now part of the federal reporting requirement. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on another call. But right now, that information is being reported to, will be reported to OSEP. Once again, these are things that you definitely want to double check. As I stated earlier, you want to check your age, grade level, and LRE mismatch. You want to make sure that your age and grade are appropriate for the LRE category. We have revamped the certification form. It's going to look a little different. We've turned it into, thanks to Albert, we've turned it into a fillable PDF form. We shared that with you in the email attachment on Tuesday as well. Just highlighting that you definitely want to double check those DD errors. And one last thing, there should be no blanks for race, ethnicity, gender, ESL, or grade. So if you're having issues in your system and those items are coming through blank, please send us an email so that we can get that information added into there and into your report. I know there are some little nuances with students who may have possibly been enrolled in PowerSchool and have since enrolled into a private school, and that information becomes blank. We are trying to work on it, but nonetheless, we still need that information for your final report. So if you do have those blanks, send us an email so that we can get it added into your final report. Okay, did want to talk a little bit about this new report that you guys will have to submit in November of 2022. It is a parentally placed private school report that what we're going is to help districts calculate their proportionate share. I cannot speak on proportionate share calculations methodologies. I can only help you with the actual enriched submission report. I can tell you that all districts must submit. It is an enriched submission, and when it's due, you would have to, and I do have contact information if you have questions about the PPPSC report. It is students who are eligible under IDEA. If the students have been evaluated and determined to have a disability, those kids are children who have been evaluated under the general child count Child Find requirements. Children with disabilities who are in public school and transferred to a private school or began homeschooling. Children who are in private schools, in the private school setting, who are identified through Child Find. And without documentation of this determination, the LEA cannot count the student as eligible private school students. So this guidance is coming from our finance team. I am just a deliverer. I am the tool vessel being used to share this information with you guys. I cannot tell you a whole lot about it. I am learning this process with you. It will be a cumulative report, and so therefore it's something that we should have been doing all along, but we weren't. So this year becomes our baseline to report the data. So you guys are collecting data as you complete evaluations this current school year. And so that's why we're not able to report until November of 2022. Students should be counted in the district of service, not the district of residence. So we want to be clear that we put that in there because we know that students, private school students, may receive services in a district other than the district of residence. So we want you guys to be aware that you should count the student in the district of service, not the district of residence. And that's similar to your child count as well. You count, the students are typically counted in the district of service, not the district of residence. Students found to be eligible are continuing to be counted until they meet one of the following criteria. The student ages out. The parent refuses evaluation or reevaluation. Student is reevaluated and determined to no longer qualify for equitable services, and students graduate with a diploma. So you're tracking these students until one of these four things happens. Okay. Valid PPPSC outcome options, and this is the form that you should see within Enrich. At the conclusion, you will have to determine whether consent was received. Consent received, PPPSC, and the student has an ISP. Consent not applicable, the student is eligible for PPPSC, but does not have an ISP in place, or services is not going to be provided to that student. Consent refused for PPPSC, and consent refused in special education. So those are your valid PPPSC outcome options. So the students on your PPPSC report will have one of these 5 outcome reasons or options. If you have questions about PPPSC, you can contact Marlene Metz, Sarah Garrett, or Michelle Williams-Young on our finance team for questions about PPPSC, proportionate share calculations. They are the gatekeepers for that process. Okay. Just a reminder that our monthly meetings will be held the 3rd Thursday of each month. So our next meeting will be October 21st. Pre-checks for indicators 7, 11, and 12. We have the dates on the slide to the right. So November 19th will be your first pre-check submission for indicators 7, 11, and 12. And we'll talk a little bit more about the pre-checks and the things that we're looking for on the pre-checks in our next call. We'll talk a little bit more about the year-to-year change report. Hopefully by that time, I will have some sort of summary to send to you guys to review what we're looking for and how to submit that to our office, and also the child count submissions. I wanted to add this slide into this PowerPoint because the ADT Advanced Data Transfer is a tool in the member center of the Department of Education website, where where districts are able to send information to our office, and vice versa. We can send information to the districts in a secured manner. And so we're looking to start utilizing this. So as you'll hear some presentations or calls coming in the near future where you will have to use this measure to submit information to our office. And so you will need to contact your district web access coordinator to gain access. If you have a login, you can you should have access to the OSIS data folder and then your individual district. And so we will put information in this location for you to receive and send information to our office. I know this is going to be crucial for monitoring, so I definitely wanted to put it out there to you guys sooner rather than later. Once again, I wanted to highlight the items that you should have received in the email that was sent on Tuesday. You should have gotten a PowerPoint of today's call, and I will send it again because I had to add some more information into the PowerPoint prior to today's meeting. You should have gotten the Table 1 and 3 certification form. As I stated earlier, it is a fillable PDF form where you will just have to type in your district's name, the number certified that will be sent to you via email from our office, along with a typed and signed box for signatures and date. We did, the form is and does have the ability to do electronic signatures, but in the event that we have some folks who are still fans of printing and signing, the box is actually comparable for you to do that as well. I sent the current year reporting calendars to you guys again. I realized that not everybody got it the last time, but I wanted to make sure that everybody got it this time around. I also included the updated Indicator 8 flyer, the enriched disability and LRE code update for your records, and also the questions that we received from the Q&A from the August meeting. Okay. And this is all of our contact information. Elisa Wise is no longer with our office. So we are pitching in and working on those reports until that position is filled. But as always, you guys can reach out to us anytime you have any questions. At this time, we're going to open the floor to you guys to ask questions should you have any.
Carolyn, we have some questions that were placed in the chat.
Okay.
And I'll start with the first one. It says, Indicator 8 survey does not ask for the name of the school district. How will it be sorted?
Okay. The district, we have a legend that we are able to link that information back to the students. So that will happen on our end in our office. We will take care of that information so that each district gets their individual information, provided the survey numbers or survey code is entered correctly. There have been times when we could not count the survey because the survey code was not entered correctly, and we had no way of connecting it back to a student. And in those instances, they're removed from the report.
Okay, the next one. If students who are 5 years old whose LRE is incorrect, do we change this through the IEP amendment, or can we use the letter like we did last year?
Okay. You always want to make sure that you are changing and correcting information at the source. Theoretically, once we do a download in our office, and if we're at the point of asking questions about making changes to the LRE codes, we are not going to do another download from the system, but you always want to make sure that the LEA, the information is correct at the source, so that if someone else goes in and requests that information, it is corrected at the source.
Okay. The next one, will the school age IEP and enrich change to include 5-year-olds? It currently says 6 to 12.
Okay, we will, I have a call with them this afternoon and I will ask them about that.
Okay. How can we access the presentation PowerPoint once the meeting has been concluded?
We hopefully, well, I think this time around we'll have a clean recording and we'll be able to download it and get a link to you and have it posted on the website.
Okay. Regarding ADT, this is not active now, but more information coming? Or are we to go to the site you just indicated and register?
Yes, you definitely want to take the proactive approach about it and talk with your web access coordinator and go ahead and get signed up so that you can have that information ahead of time because it's coming down the pikes.
Okay, and the next question, I am not receiving any of the mentioned emails other than the email notification for the monthly meetings.
Okay, I will double check that. I know some there's some other folks that haven't been getting the information, and they're on the list. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I will definitely double check it. What I may do is just cancel the reoccurring notification that I have now and send a new one.
Okay, I did not receive the email being referenced, but did get an email Wednesday on indicator 8. And that probably is.
Yeah, I'm not
fix
sure. I can tell you guys that right now I update the contact list on the first Monday of each month. So Benning and I know this doesn't apply to one district in particular because their person has been there for a while, but when I did the download, their name was not on that list. So I don't know if folks are being taken off or what the case is, but I do update my contact list on the first Monday of each month. That's all I can tell you, and I do my best. I don't exclude anyone from my emails. So if you have the role of a special education director, whether it be the secondary contact, the enrich or data reporting person, I try to send all communications to all of those entities because roles are so diverse across districts, and I don't want to automatically assume that someone shouldn't get it. So I try my best to include everyone on the emails.
All right, next question. On the table 1 and 3 certification form under the certification statement, should the date be on or before January 7th, 2022 instead of 2021?
Okay, it should be January 7th, 2022. And if what you received is incorrect, we'll get that corrected and sent out to you guys.
Actually, this is Albert speaking. I am in the process of fixing that, and I will re-upload that document for your use onto our website as soon as possible.
Thank you.
All right. And we've already addressed the question about the PowerPoint from last month's meeting. You can forward that, but just not the recording. Is that correct?
Well, actually, there's one other thing that we tested on yesterday morning. So the process to remove it, once we cut it out, it takes a while for the system for the software to reread it. So hopefully I'll be able to send that PowerPoint and the recording to the districts by Friday. I hope.
Okay. When will the ADT be live so we know when we have access?
So I can tell you this, once you get access to the OSIS data folder, you have access. So once you get a login and once the login is created, you're going to log in to go to advanced data transfer, and you should see OSIS data, and then your district folder, you have access. And you can use that measure to send information to OSIS or to the data team.
Okay. Manually entered students who are in private settings does not have a local ID. Any guidance for completing parent survey?
They do not, those students do not have a SUNS ID number, but they should have a system ID number. And I spoke with Enrich on last week, and they assured me that it is pulling from the local ID number. So those local student ID number or their PowerSchool ID number, but I will get clarification on that on our call this afternoon.
Okay, and we have a request to include someone on the communications. Should that be done through adding them in the Dean system, or
That
is
is
that some?
That is correct. That user, Ms. Sonia, you will need to make sure that your contact information is added into the Dean system.
Okay, it's the ADP portion in the PowerPoint that was sent, or is that a recent add? That's
a recent add. I added that on yesterday afternoon because I had a question from one of the other teams in our office. So I wanted to be sure that I shared it with you guys. And as I stated, there's some information that I added to the PowerPoint after I sent it to you guys. So I will send this updated PowerPoint to you at the conclusion when I send out the information.
And we have someone stating that they cannot see the information in the emailed PowerPoint. I suppose once you send that out, they'll be able to obtain that information. And next is someone would like for you to please explain what ADT is again.
Advanced data ADT is advanced data transfer. It is a tool that the agency uses, a secure location where we're able to send and receive information from districts securely.
Okay, and then we have, I've lost track. We assign someone was stating that they assign all of their students who are not in PowerSchool a local ID number. Unknown user ADT equals, okay. Just explaining what ADT is. If someone has been added in the Dean system and still not getting things, what might be causing that?
Double check the role in which that user's assigned. I can tell you that the roles that I send information to are special education directors, enrich contacts, special education secondary contacts, and the data reporting manager. So those are the 4 roles that I send information to. So double check to make sure that the person in question have one of those 4 assigned roles.
All right. For clarification, will homeschool students be included in the PPPSC?
I believe so. I think that is one of the criteria on that report. But for clarification, you can email one of the folks on the finance team.
All right. I have access to ADT, but I do not see an OSIS folder. Do I request that from the district?
Yes, you would need to talk with your district web access coordinator, and they can take care of that for you.
And the next question pertaining to ADT, can more than one person in the special education department have access to that folder?
As far as I know, access is assigned based on the user. So if your web access person gives you access to it, I'm not aware of any restrictions.
And that was the last question.
I think I see one.
Oh, one more. It just came through. Is it possible to share the roles in the chat for deans?
Okay.
And next one, are there plans to create a video for parents about the survey that we could share at the parent meeting and with teachers?
Good question. We hadn't thought about it, but I'm sure we could get some folks in the office to put together something for you guys. Okay. Are there any more questions? Anybody want to comment on anything? We still have about 15 minutes left. Okay. You know, we definitely wanted to make sure that we have these calls with you guys so that as our office are moving towards a more data-driven process, we definitely wanted to have the data folks in the districts knowledgeable of what's being asked. So as we know it, we will share it with your data person, and that way you'll have someone in your district that's knowledgeable of what it is that we're asking for and the things that we're doing at the state level. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions or food, oh, someone had their hand raised.
Yeah, I just raised my hand, Carolyn. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm working on the child count, and I have a student whose race is not listed in the drop down. And so I select other, and so it's coming up as an error. So do we have any options for that?
Okay, so other is not one of the 7 federally reported race ethnicity. That's why it's coming up as an error. Is it blank because the student is a private school student, or is the parent refusing to give that information?
No, it's just the race is not listed. He's
Okay.
Hebrew. The individual is Hebrew, and it's not one of the options.
Well, it's not one of the federally 7 federally reported. So even though that may be their nationality, that's not a race. They still would have to be one of the other 7 reporting races.
So then my question is I'm really not sure what I would select because none of the others are appropriate.
Yeah.
I don't think.
They fall into one of the 7. It's just a matter of them saying which one it is.
Okay.
But I can talk to you a little bit about that off record. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for everything.
You're welcome. Okay. If a 5-year-old is in preschool and has an annual, okay. As a matter of fact, I spoke with Director Davis about this question this morning, Shannon, and we're going to talk about it a little bit in one of our other calls. In theory, you want to have that meeting closer to when the child is entering kinder. But there's some other scenarios that we have to take into consideration. So I will definitely get you some more information about that particular question when the child turns 5-year-old in the middle of the school year. You're welcome. Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Okay. Well, that concludes our September monthly data reporting call. Thank you guys for participating and enjoy the rest of your day.